against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Warren.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Simply Bitcoin, the #1 daily live Bitcoin-only show on YouTube, Twitter, and Rumble. We cover breaking news, culture, and mimetic warfare. Of course, it's your boy Opti. Nico had to run. I think he's doing a doctor's appointment for the newborn. So you're stuck with me as I will be the guide through the separation of money and state. And I was low-key kind of trolling behind the scenes that we're going to lean into rebranding today from Simply Bitcoin to Simply Speculation, because the last couple of days we've been giving you a lot of bullet points on where we think the bull run's going to go. You know, the 5 bullish reasons yesterday from Marty Bent. We're seeing a lot of fiat debasement acceleration in the world. And here we are as Bitcoiners. We're seeing all kinds of crazy price speculation, price predictions. And we got a crazy one today. I'm sure you guys know Robert Kiyosaki. I guess I kind of consider him like a hard money financial doomer. But hey, you know, when people talk about Bitcoin in good and bad ways, we love to cover it. And on that note, this is absolutely incredible price prediction. I think he is definitely smoking the hopium, but hey, we're going to cover it because I also believe that Bitcoin is headed to the 6-figure range. And I'm going to give you guys my viewpoint, what I think is going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months. And on that note, I know a lot of Bitcoiners always talk about this idea that the price of Bitcoin doesn't matter. There's a lot of cool stuff going on behind the scenes that is really more important. But with number go up comes freedom go up. And as I was telling our guest today, I really do believe that one of the main drivers of people coming to Bitcoin is once they catch the FOMO. And on that note, we had a great clip come out from Jack Mallers at the Oslo Freedom Fest talking about exactly that we are seeing an incredible wealth transfer going to Bitcoin and that the price of Bitcoin is important. So as much as we like to dunk on price predictions, price speculations, the price of Bitcoin is important, guys. And this is why we cover all of this stuff in Bitcoin, because it's all about the culture. What we say here all the time on Simply Bitcoin is we are in the battle to win the hearts and minds of the masses. And for better or worse, they come because the price starts getting crazy. And I've been telling you guys this for a couple of days, that we have some metrics on the back end that just completely destroy the idea that price isn't important, because once the price starts moving, people start to come and look for Bitcoin content. And when it starts going sideways or down, people tune out. And I think we're on the verge of an incredible last leg of the bull run. And so here we are. We're going to add to the hopium a little bit. But I have a full house today. So Nico this morning hit me up. He's like, yo, I need you to host. And we had to scramble to get a co-host here. But we got one of the best. I'm gonna call him the best producer in the game, but I think my boys over at the Bugle might be winning that title right now. But we got Chris Alemo, the one and only Chris Alemo, programming manager at Swan, formerly at Bitcoin Magazine. He's one of the best producers in the game. Chris, how you doing? I don't want to dox your personal life, but it's good to have you back. It's good to see you on Simply Bitcoin. How's everything, bro?
Doing well. Had a little bit of a break. Happy to be back, Opti. I'm excited for Opti Unleashed today. You know, without Nico in the house, the parents are out of the, out doing their thing. So it's Opti and I taking over the airwaves today.
Yes. I should have redone the logo. So we're not Simply Bitcoin today. We are Simply Speculation. We are Simply Price Predictions today. But this one's going to be fun. You already know when Opti gets to host a show, things get a little crazy. But I do have some awesome guests today, and I think you guys are going to truly, thoroughly enjoy today's culture. So first, I'm going to bring up Kamal. He is the director of marketing at Galoy. And what we're going to talk about today, he is also helping organize Adopting Bitcoin with our other friend, Charlie here. So let's talk about this for a little bit before we get into the show. And today's theme in the culture that Kamal really wants to hit on, and this is why we brought Charlie on today, is to further elaborate on the idea of Bitcoin being a medium of exchange. Charlie is in Berlin, El Salvador currently, and they are organizing adopting Bitcoin in November. So, Kamal, how you doing this morning? How's everything? Uh-oh, you're muted, bro. We were just talking. Now he's muted.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us. It's a fantastic day. Glad to finally meet you here. Why is it a fantastic day? Well, I got a Simply Bitcoin invite. BTC Pay Server released an amazing plugin that I've been waiting for a long time, actually since Madeira, even a little bit earlier than Bitcoin Atlantis. And we also have a little thing going on with Blink that I'm personally very excited about. I think it's something that will help get KYC free Bitcoin. I think this is really, really important. And we need to have some behavioral change. We got a little bit complacent, getting used to the convenience of KYC exchanges. But I think that honeymoon phase is over, and we need solutions for that. And last but not least, I'm super stoked here to talk a little bit about adopting Bitcoin and what it means and what's coming up.
Love it, bro. Well, actually, could you tease the point of sale device right on the screen for people, and then we'll talk about it in the culture. All right, guys. I think you guys are gonna really like this one. This is a really cool project, a really cool feature coming out. But anyways, before we get into more, Charlie, how you doing today? We are upping the sex appeal on Simply Bitcoin today.
Come on.
We got Charlie in the house. Looking suave with an accent. There's going to be a great show.
Ofti, no, thanks a million for the invite. It's an honor to be here on Simply Bitcoin and getting the message out of how important it is to have Bitcoin being used as money. I'm here in Berlin. There's over 140 merchants accepting Bitcoin, and you can live here purely on a Bitcoin standard. No need for any government issued currency. So yeah, it feels good. Feels like there's a lot of progress going on here, and it's great to be able to talk about it.
Let's go. Yeah, I know the audience is going to really love this cultural talk today about what's happening in El Salvador, Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, because recently we have been seeing a lot of narratives of simply keeping Bitcoin as a store of value. And we're monetary maxis here at Simply Bitcoin. We're like, no, Bitcoin is money. It's the best way to transact in the digital age. And it's not just about saving and never touching your Bitcoin. It's obviously about storing as much wealth as possible, but also being able to send Bitcoin across the world, basically instantly. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. But without further ado, guys, let me plug our sponsor. The company that keeps us going here, of course, is Bitcoin Well. Buy real Bitcoin, guys. They got self-custody by default here. They just released the product into the US. And I have some, behind the scenes look at everything they're doing. I talked to Adam probably, if not multiple times a week, one time a week, and they are building and shipping product as quickly as possible, guys. Got a 1% spread on your Bitcoin buys. It's Bitcoin only. It's non-custodial. You literally have to have a Bitcoin wallet if you want to receive Bitcoin here. They are on the mission of building the best self-custody by default platform, period. Enable your financial independence by getting on Bitcoin Well. But we really want to talk about the wishing well. So I got logged out of this, guys, but here we go. All right. So once you get into Bitcoin Well, go over here in your dashboard, hit your Bitcoin Well rewards, go into my rewards, go into redeem, and click the Bitcoin wishing well. And we already got this one. Adam, we already got this quote here, but we're transporting you back to 1999 where the Blair Witch Project was released. So here we go. I'm not going to redeem this, guys. So pull out your Lightning wallets right now and you can redeem some points. So here you go. Redeem some points. I'll leave this on the screen for a moment. And first come, first serve. Whoever scans this first. Oh, it's not working. There we go. There we go. All right. First come, first serve. Scan it right now. I'll give you a moment, guys, in the audience so that you can receive some sats, and then I will do it one more time. So if you don't get it the first time, we'll get it the second time. All right, Here we go. Hopefully someone got it. If not, rewind it. It's going to be there for a moment. All right, next one. One more before we move on. You are being transported back to 1999, and the Y2K bug is being successfully addressed. Wow, Y2K. What, man, I feel old now. All right. One more time before we move into today's show. Giving you guys some stats. So shouts out to the Bitcoin Well team. They just released this product, the Wishing Well. You can get free sats. You get points every time you buy when you refer people. So here you go, guys. With that being said, let's get into the show.
Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stampseed.
Of course, guys, we made it easy for you guys. Scan the QR code. Scan the QR code. Do not leave your seed phrase on a piece of paper in your sock drawer. This is not how you store your generational wealth. But on that note, we're over here on Clark Moody's dashboard, of course. Got to give you the numbers. So my favorite number is always the block height, guys. TikTok next block. It's probably the most important number on here. It's, Bitcoin's working exactly as designed, and we're currently at block height of 846,762. The current Bitcoin price is $70,900, which means the sats per dollar, aka how much Bitcoin you can buy for a single dollar, aka how much a single dollar is worth in Bitcoin, is currently at 1,410 sats per dollar. The total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued, I repeat, the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued is currently at 93.85%. The market cap in fiat terms is $1.4 trillion. If I remember correctly, silver is 1.27. So, hey, finally fully knocking silver off the hard money game. It's not even hard money, but we're upping up the market cap, guys, and I think we're going to get some crazy movement on that market cap number, but it doesn't really matter. The realized monetary inflation, as Nico always says, taking fiat currencies to school, was at 1.61%. Remember when we started reading this, guys, it was at like 1.8, and now it's just slowly but surely inching down. Bitcoin is the strongest, hardest money in the world, and you just love to see it. And hopefully more people catch on to that idea, because what are you doing saving in dollars? It makes no sense. Why do you save in dollars? It's melting ice cubes. You guys are lost in the sauce. You need to save Bitcoin. Anyways, the Bitcoin versus gold market cap, we're inching up towards 10% of the Bitcoin or the gold market cap, currently at 8.62%. The total public Lightning capacity is at 4,769.1 BTC, and the hash rate the last 90 days is at 606.7 exahashes. Shouts out to Matthew in the chat because he's going to say 1 zeta hash. We have yet to get there, bro, but we'll get there soon enough. Anyways, as I was telling you guys today, we're rebranding Simply Bitcoin to Simply Price Speculation, Simply Price Predictions for today. And I know Nico always says we don't like to speculate on the price. We bring on influential Bitcoiners to talk about price predictions, and yet we usually do it every other day or two anyways. But the reason we do it is very well summed up in this clip by Jack Mallers at the Oslo Freedom Forum. And the headline here on the Bitcoin Magazine tweet is Bitcoin is the biggest wealth transfer in modern human history. But the reason I wanted to bring this up today, especially going into what we're going to talk about in the news, is a point that Jack talks about. And he goes, look, I know we all say that the price of Bitcoin doesn't matter, but it really does matter. And it's something that I say all the time in mimetic form, is that the Bitcoin price is a real-time metric of people's understanding of what Bitcoin is. And currently it's at 70K, which personally just means that most people don't know what Bitcoin is. They have no idea what Bitcoin is. And again, I know you guys don't talk to normies out there, but I still sometimes talk to normies. I got to unplug and see what the average person is thinking. And I come across basically two mental frames when I talk about Bitcoin. And I'm getting to the point where I don't even bring up Bitcoin too much anymore because it's like, I got to deal with this all over again. But it's usually two frames or modes of thinking. One, they either completely don't know what it is, which is, as Nolan would say, just the quintessential NPC take. They don't even know what it is, haven't heard of it, which is, I think it's a stretch to say that most people don't know what Bitcoin is. They just tune it out. And the second one is they look at you like you're crazy or you're some kind of weird cypherpunk, financial illiterate, psychopath, nerd. I don't need internet nerd money type thinking. So we still have a long way to go in, I hate to use the word re-educating because I know how the globalists use that term, but memeing people into the power of Bitcoin. But let's listen to this clip and then we'll chat about it because Jack Mallers just kills it. I could never do justice to what Jack Mallers says.
It's like supercharging it and making it move quicker because especially when you come to these events, right? It's like time is of the essence. I feel like we need all this stuff yesterday.
I agree. I mean, Bitcoin's the biggest wealth transfer in at least modern human history. For people that are like, price doesn't matter, I call bullshit. Price matters a lot. I mean, price to me is the most active index we have on how much of the world is using the money. And I think it's really important that there is a transfer of wealth. I mean, it's demonetizing. I mean, there are people with a tremendous amount of wealth that's been passed down Manhattan real estate for 4 or 5 generations. That guy's not he's not funding Kali. He's just not. And so I think it's important that we're demonetizing that wealth and putting it into active hands of people that are in this conference and in this room. So I couldn't agree more with you. I think that's right. I mean, I said earlier, I think Bitcoin is pure humanity. I really do. I think the human story is engineering a better world. The human story is commercializing energy from the sun. And Bitcoin is energy money. It's literally that. And it's literally an engineering project. It's our first engineered man-made money. And so being bullish on Bitcoin is being bullish on humanity and placing a premium on the future. And so I think if we're able to capitalize on this wealth transfer, in theory, it would be a much better world with wealth being with this room versus, I don't know, Jerome Powell or whatever. I don't know.
Oh man, so much sauce there. So much sauce in that little clip there by Jack Mallers. But it's something we say here all the time. And I'm going to keep everyone on the screen so we can discuss this a little bit. It's this idea of, we say it very, very simply on the show, it's Bitcoin or slavery. It is Bitcoin versus CBDCs. And you guys hear me constantly say on the show as well that like, I am team human. This is why I love Bitcoin, is because there's two worldviews playing out right now. There's the fiat world, as we always say, world of nihilism, of pessimism, and then there's the Bitcoin world of optimism and positivity. And you have a choice right now on what world you want to live in the future. Are you team human or are you anti-human? And if you are against, hold on.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Not only are you against freedom, but you are literally working against humanity. If you are continuously shilling for CBDCs, shilling for fiat currencies. And I also believe, and I think we all believe the same thing, that Bitcoin is the best and the greatest wealth transfer in history. You have had the chance to front run Wall Street, all the institutions for years now. And all you had to do was save in Bitcoin. Just continue to hodl that Bitcoin, continuously buy Bitcoin, and your life is going to get better. And this is one of the things I tell you guys constantly on this show, is that simply put, most people want to live a good life. And if you're stuck in the fiat world, it's getting harder and harder and harder to live a good life. But once you get on the Bitcoin standard, your life gets easier and everything starts to improve. Your worldview starts to improve. Probably your health starts to improve. Of course, your finances start to improve. And again, the reason I wanted to bring up this clip is because Jack Mallers nails it on the head. Guys, the price of Bitcoin is super important. I know we like to talk about all of the other things around Bitcoin. With number go up comes freedom go up, comes, freedom of speech, all the things we talk about here. A world where you can defund, as we, Nico's not here, so I'm going to say it, we can defund the monetary demons out there that are stealing your life force. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. Do you want to build on a world where your wealth is being stolen or a world where you can preserve your wealth. And I really love how Jack said it in that clip that, hey, as much as you want to say that the price of Bitcoin doesn't matter, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, all the memes, it is super important because as the price goes up, and we have metrics, at least on social media, that confirm this, as the price of Bitcoin goes up, more people start to pile into Bitcoin. And as the price goes sideways or down, people start to tune out. So as much as this is probably like the enemy of your enemy is your friend type scenario, when the price goes up, people get interested. But once they FOMO into Bitcoin, as we say all the time, you come for the money, you come to make the money, but you come for the or you stay for the revolution, you stay to fix the world. And that's what this is all about. And again, just to echo the meme that I always say, the Bitcoin price is a real-time metric of people's understanding of what Bitcoin is. And right now at 70K, it's undervalued, which means most people don't know what Bitcoin is. So go forth and meme, go forth and spread the truth and wake people up to the greatest wealth transfer opportunity that they could ever have in their life. It's such a beautiful golden age of Bitcoin. Anyways, I've been ranting long enough. Let's bring on Chris. Chris, gives the right side of the bell curve take on this stuff. So Chris, what's your thoughts on this?
I mean, I agree with Jack Mallers. I mean, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, but the price of Bitcoin going up does matter. I mean, obviously, it helps increase the purchasing power of all the holders of Bitcoin. There's a great quote that people always say, like, people don't want money, they want what money can buy. So obviously, you want an increase in purchasing power with the Bitcoin going up in value. And Bitcoin's basically guaranteed, I'll say basically guaranteed, unless our governments decide to be trustworthy and responsible and not spend excessively. But obviously, with the amount of debt that all fiat sovereign nations have, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. And I don't think that it can happen. I think we're beyond the point of repair for the fiat system. Obviously, I hope it doesn't collapse suddenly. That would hurt and harm a lot of people, would cause many civil wars, would cause many world wars. So it's obviously not a good thing, but we're hoping to build a parallel system with the Bitcoin economy that we can have people peacefully transition from the fiat world into the Bitcoin system. I guess my one final point is you can take any fiat currency. It doesn't have to just be the US dollar. It can be the Chinese yuan. It can be the Japanese yen. It can be the euro, whatever fiat currency. All of them are getting debased against Bitcoin in the long run. So while Bitcoin may be super volatile in the short term, over a long enough time horizon, Bitcoin's price is only going up in any fiat currency you pick.
It's going up forever, Laura. Okay, let's pass it over to Kamal because you do work with Galoy. So there was a portion in there about developing the world you want to see. So what's your thoughts on that Jack Mallers clip?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to have a solid store of value that if you want to bootstrap a new monetary system, right? Like it would suck. No, like why would people adopt something that's worse than what they have? Like obviously we want something that's better than what we have. And what is better? Well, something that can buy me tomorrow more than it can today. Like that sounds pretty fair to me because productivity gains are going up. And yeah, I'm not seeing them in my pocket when I use fiat currency. I'm living here in Istanbul, Turkey. We have 60% inflation. People are getting robbed blind. It's chronic for decades, and they don't get it because they're being gaslit and distracted and blindfolded by propaganda, basically. And so I really like what you said with the monetary demons. I'm gonna make a mental note and steal that one because a lot of people think that, hey, I mean, fiat is just not some evil design. It just came about like this coincidentally. I don't believe in that shit. I'm sorry. Like this has been crafted. This has been designed by the monetary demons to, basically enslave everybody who is going about their work and not worrying too much about how finance work and how monetary systems work, like normal people, like the majority of people. But unfortunately, they have been disenfranchised by the people that just cared about this very fundamental technology that we all have to use in economies of scale. And store of value is important. It's a foundation. Without it, we couldn't bootstrap this network that's freedom money. And so Number go up, I guess, is good for us all. It scales Lightning. It scales my wallet. It goes, can purchase more things with the money that I earned. Never gonna make as much money as I did 2 years ago in my life ever again. But it doesn't matter because in 2 years I'm gonna say the same thing about the money that I earned today. So that's fine. Obviously, it's not gonna go like that forever, ever, at the same rate, because once we have monetized the F out of all the stuff that has a monetary premium at the moment, like real estate, equity markets, bond markets, whatever. Once that all is demonetized, like I expect that rate of value appreciation to flatten out at some point. But that's so far in the future that I'm not worrying about it. And still, it will be money that doesn't steal from you, because we have a hard cap. And yeah, it's definitely the best money and hopefully the last money that we will ever have.
Oof, hold on. Let's go. That's some bars right there. That's some bars. Okay, let's get Charlie's take on this. Considering you are in Berlin, El Salvador, where Bitcoin is used as a medium of exchange, but also, you know, talk about Jack Mallers and the idea of price and maybe a brighter future. What's your thoughts on all this, Charlie?
Yeah, cheers, Opti. Okay, Jack Mallers has a direct point. Dollar is our gauge of what can buy us. And the only reason dollar has value is because it was tied to gold back about 100 years ago, right? And gold is scarce, and we all coordinated around this scarce asset for hundreds of years. So the only reason why it has value at the moment is because it was pegged to something in the past, and it's just wheezing out at the moment. So price is as important as the ability for that metric to buy you goods and services. So dollar right now buys us goods and services, therefore we're looking at the price. Once the dollar stops making so much meaning and is less useful, we're going to be looking at what Bitcoin can buy us relative to the amount of barrels of oil, the amount of tomatoes, the amount of potatoes, the amount of land it can buy us. So as we approach time, we will start putting less attention on what the dollar is, and I think by building out ecosystems where we can exchange goods and services for Bitcoin, this allows for the transition to happen easily. I don't think it's going to all end in a big bang. I think it's going to be kind of a whimper. You know, it's going to be a whimper. People are going to be speculating much more as the time goes on, and the most free places are the ones where Bitcoin is flowing and being exchanged for goods and services. So Jack Mallers is a huge point. The more purchasing power that you can have over the course of time, you're going to tend towards that. And yeah, I mean, we can see it here. We can see people who have been stripped from capital because of war, terror, because of gangs in El Salvador. And from this blank slate, they're finding this pristine collateral that is completely scarce, the most scarce element in the universe. And they're being able to save this super scarce element for the exchange of pupusas, for being able to make some fast food and being able to exchange that for this unbelievable asset, and then be able to exchange that for something else and store it away and be able to build up a private capital to then invest in whatever they want to provide for the world. I mean, we all need to coordinate around this pristine collateral, and I think we have to remember that. And we have to remember that every time we switch from using a payment rail that's been issued by a central governing body to one that's completely decentralized, and in my opinion is a gift from God for us to be able to free our souls, then the better for the world, right? So it's going to happen in bubbles. It's going to happen in waves. It's not all going to be a straight line. It's going to be exponential in certain areas. It's going to die off in other areas. And it's all based on our awareness of who we are as humans and how we work, right? And we do need money. And once we get past 150 people, like, we can't really rely on social credit anymore. We have to use a certain metric to be able to bring all our subjective values together, right? So yeah, Bitcoin is huge. Bitcoin is the answer. Move over dollar, because it's coming, and it's coming fast. All right.
Let's go. As JH said in the chat, this guy is smart and beautiful. Okay, I see how you're the secret weapon down there in Berlin. I get it now. But totally agree. And actually, I was reminded of one thing that Jack said, and then we'll get into the news. Is what we're seeing as Bitcoin, and you know, this generational wealth transfer. we're seeing a world where people have lowered their time preference, where people are thinking about the future. Jack even said it it's probably some high level, right side of the bell curve way, where he's like, there's a premium on the future now. You can't just steal from the future, bring it to today and think that you are improving the world. It's like, no, you got to plan, you got to save. And who would you want to be in control of the future? The monetary demons, or people that actually care about the future, care about their offspring, and aren't trying to just steal value from everyone else? Like, it seems like a very, very easy answer, but hey, what do I know? I might just be a biased Bitcoiner. I'm the crazy Bitcoiner over here. But anyway, that's enough. You guys came for the price prediction, so let's get to the price predictions. Before we go on, though, we got to give a shout out to our boy Anders at the Pleb Party Nashville 2024, the day before the biggest conference in the world in Nashville. Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville. It will be a 12-hour all-inclusive pleb party, July 25th. Again, guys, 12 hours of open bar and food for you guys. Hang out with all your favorite Bitcoiners. We'll be here. The whole Simply Bitcoin team will be here. Some of your favorite Bitcoin influencers will be there, or just Bitcoiners, however you want to call it. They're taking over an OG rustic venue in Nashville. It's going to be great. I can't wait to hang out with every one of you guys. It's going to be a blast. I know Anders knows how to throw a good party. He's actually very good at it. Anyways, we're
cutting Opti off at the bar after 3 hours. Opti's got a 3-hour limit. Everyone else has got 12 hours.
I got like a 5-6 drink limit, and then I'm cutting myself off. So I'm not going to last 12 hours. But let's get into a Simply price predictions for today.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more.
All right, guys, of course. Scan the QR code. Scan the QR code. Get yourself a Passport by Foundation. It's super sleek. It's sexy. Paired with the Envoy app, it might be one of the easiest cold storage setups, period. Absolutely love the product, love the team. Anyways, let's get into the news. So before I get into Kiyosaki's extremely bullish prediction here, I do want to circle back to a few things we've been talking about on the show, give it some context here, because I constantly tell you guys the same thing, that I'm convinced. I don't have models. I don't have all the data points. I just feel it in my plums, guys. There's just a gut feeling here that I know this bull run is going to be epic. And we just had the halving, and the next year, I think we're going to be pumping until probably the end of 2025. But let's just go back on the receipts. And we covered this yesterday. Bitcoin's bullish setup. Shouts out to Marty Bent and the TFTC newsletter. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to give you, the bullet points here. So what are the bullish setups for Bitcoin going into 2025, the end of 2024? Well, of course, Bitcoin on corporate treasuries. We've seen a mass adoption on Bitcoin on corporate treasuries, and soon we're going to see even more. We're going to see even more corporations start to realize that they need Bitcoin on their balance sheet, not only just to preserve purchasing power, but to appease the shareholders out there. And then moving on, of course, countries are dropping treasuries for hard assets. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but no one wants U.S. debt anymore. They do not want the IOUs from the government. And U.S. treasuries are not the risk-off asset. They're not the safe thing to be investing in. Everyone is looking for solutions. And of course, we think it is Bitcoin. Of course, the Bitcoin ETF success, literally the best ETF launch ever, period, is Bitcoin. So now everyone is starting to catch the FOMO bug. They're starting to realize, oh my God, Bitcoin is the best performing thing in the room. And, we're going to need to adopt this. And of course, on that note, the institutional adoption, as we covered yesterday, the Wisconsin pension fund is starting to invest in Bitcoin. They just dip their toes in. And shouts out to Winsome Hacks in the chat because he dropped some sauce that I don't think people understand how important it is that the Wisconsin pension fund invested in Bitcoin, because they are literally the most risk adverse people, period. They if they lose money, they are absolutely effed. And the fact that they gave Bitcoin the nod just goes to show what we've been saying here on the show for a long time, that Bitcoin is the safest place to store your wealth. And now everyone is catching on. I think by the end of the year, we're going to see it's going to be a tsunami of funds coming to Bitcoin. And then, of course, the halving. Now, some people might say that the halving doesn't have an effect on the price, but historically, we're still in the 4-year halving cycle. And even though the supply that is getting released because of the Bitcoin miners is probably a drop in the bucket, I still believe that we are going to see the halving cycle play out. And on that note, again, going back to some context here, I really love this visual. This might be one of my favorite visuals currently, and it's Adam Back. And he goes, this is June 4th. He goes, new mine Bitcoin plus 450 Bitcoin a day. The Bitcoin purchased by ETF, 12,508. And Adam Back goes, and we're still under 100K. Something has to give. And that's the point of this. I think this is the point of this conversation right now. Is not only is the Bitcoin network set up in such a way, not only are we seeing all these bullish indicators set up telling us, at least people that have been in Bitcoin for a long time, that, this bull run is going to get crazy. And we have yet to see the FOMO retail. And I think it's just going to compound on top of each other. And anyone out there that thinks that 6-figure Bitcoin is going to be a top out, 100K Bitcoin's a top out. It's like, that's a 50% here for the rest of the year. I think we're going to be pumping all year, guys. I think we're starting to see that we're getting a little bubbly here. Once we break that 73K, I think it's off to the races and things are going to get crazy. But not only is the Bitcoin network and all of the indicators in the Bitcoin world leading to the same thing, that we're going to see a bullish bull run. We're seeing in the fiat world, people are looking for solutions. They realize they can't save in treasuries. They realize you can't save dollars. And so I think we have a perfect setup, or even worse, that the governments out there, the central bankers out there are losing control, or I would say have lost control. And the only thing they have to do is to gaslight us. Well, Robert Kiyosaki is saying the same thing. If you guys don't know Robert Kiyosaki, I think he is probably like the first book everyone reads with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, when they start to realize that, oh my God, I am broke. I need to figure out this money thing. Figure out how to save money. When you try to learn about your finances and you try to get educated in finances, usually for most people, I know this was my case, you start with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And Robert Kiyosaki, again, maybe this is me trolling him a little bit. I think he's a classic financial doomer. So maybe we take this with a grain of salt, and even he will admit to this in this post. But he is a hard money advocate. And this is what we try to show to you guys here, that the culture is waking up to, you need to have hard assets. Hard money does improve society. And he's a gold bug. So we're going to dunk on him on his gold buggery. And at least he's talking about Bitcoin. But here, anyways, enough context. Let's talk about this crazy price prediction, because I think he might, he's being a very, very bullish here. And it might even be overly bullish for simple speculation. But hey, let's see what he says. So actually, caveat, we are going to dunk on him for Bitcoinery, guys. So if you're in the chat saying that, we're going to dunk on him very hard on this. So let me just read this tweet, and then we'll go into some other metrics here. So Robert Kiyosaki on Twitter, @TheRealKiyosaki, and he goes, Bitcoin will be 350,000 by August 25th, 2024 is not a lie. What's that? 3 months or something? So
two and a half months there.
Half month, 350K, absolutely. It's a lunacy as far as I'm concerned. But here we go. It's a prediction. It's speculation. It's an opinion, but it's not a lie. It's sucker's bait, but it's not a lie, because any prediction about the future is not a lie. I want $350,000 Bitcoin to be a fact, and I want it to be true, but it is only a prediction. I am confident Bitcoin will hit 350K sometime in 2024. But it's only a target, a dream, and a wish. And I keep buying more Bitcoin and shitcoins because quite certain that their prices will continue to rise. Why am I so confident? It's because I'm certain about Bitcoin and shitcoins, and his answer is no. What I am confident of, and is why we brought this up today. What I am confident of is the incompetence of our leaders. President Biden, Treasury Secretary Yellen, and Fed Chair Powell. Those three are the three stooges in real life, and I am very confident about their incompetence. So take care. And I'm going to completely bash the last sentence because he's wrong on this. Just buy more Bitcoin, protect yourself from the three stooges. And this is what we tell you guys all the time. The powers that be have gaslight you into believing that they're competent, that they know how to manipulate the economy for your benefit. In reality, as Bitcoiners, we realize that the institutions are completely illegitimate. We should not rely on a small group of people to manipulate the monetary policy of the world, because in reality, all they really are doing is looking out for their own best interests and stealing wealth from you. But going further, I really love this tweet here by Charles Edwards. I highly recommend you guys follow him on Twitter. He is a little more, macro-y, hedge funny kind of guy, but he's a Bitcoiner through and through. And this is the point here. We're entering a new wave of fiat debasement plus a new era of Bitcoin political support. It's something we've been saying here on the show for a minute. This time is different. And that's why I started this with the Marty Bent newsletter, because we are seeing there's multiple factors to show and continue to double down on the idea that this time is different. And we haven't even talked about the retail FOMO. Once numbers starts going up, things are going to get crazy. And again, just giving you some context here, guys, it's a Bitcoin against all total global assets in the world. There's $900 trillion of wealth in global assets, and Bitcoin is not even at 1.5 trillion of the total global wealth. So if you don't think that Bitcoin can make an incredible move, find the Omega candle, the God candles, you are simply just not bullish enough on Bitcoin. And this is the case that all of us Bitcoiners know. And Chris, actually, you might be able to fact check me a little bit. I was trying to find that number where, historically speaking, Bitcoin makes its move in very short time frames. I think it's like 12 weeks usually that Bitcoin makes all of its incredible moves. So like you're an idiot for 3 years, and then for about 3 months out of the year, you're a genius. And I couldn't find the metrics. I forget who it was, either Adam Back or Samson Mao that's been tweeting this, but this is a known meme for us Bitcoiners, that you basically stack and hodl Bitcoin for an extremely long time. You build your position, and then in a couple of weeks, Bitcoin price is just going to go nuclear. So do I think that Robert Kiyosaki is right in saying that 350K by August is going to happen? I think he's a year early. I'm more convinced that August of 2025, we'll probably see some crazy movements. Probably by the end of 2025, we'll see some crazy movements. But hey, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Bitcoin can go absolutely nuclear into the six figures plus in a short time frame. So is this time frame off? Possibly, but we never know. There could be a black swan event to the upside instead of the downside like we saw in 2020, and we might start going nuclear. But of course, this wouldn't be an Opti takeover of Simply Bitcoin if I didn't drop a meme in here for you guys. So shouts out to the Twitter team here. And they just go 500 days of bull run begins. So let's look at this. We have the first bull run, 500 days of pumping, and then it goes sideways, and then the halving, and then we have 500 days of pumping, and then it's going to go sideways, and then the halving, and then we're going to have 500 more days of pumping, and then the sideways, and then the halving. And this is where we are, guys. We are still at the halving. So if you don't think Bitcoin can make an incredible run, you simply don't understand Bitcoin yet. You aren't bullish enough. I am convinced that we are going to see Bitcoin run for the next year till the end of 2025. So is 350K out of the realm of possibility? It's most definitely not. Will that happen by August? No one knows. But hey, Robert Kiyosaki again, a hard money advocate. Yes, you can say he's a financial doomer, so he's probably a little more biased in the regards that the financial system is going to blow up. But is it out of the realm of possibility? No. It will make a run. Will we see 350K by August? I'm kind of betting that we're not, but the point remains the same. Bitcoin is going to run, and you want to stack your bags now. You want to get your position. Don't take your foot off the gas, because the next year is, like Jack Mallers was saying, going to be a great opportunity of transferring wealth, of building generational wealth. and you want to be in a position with your Bitcoin in cold storage. Anyways, I've ranted enough. Let's go with, okay, well, Chris jumped on first. So Chris, what's your thoughts about this bullish hopium that we're seeing today? We are simply Bitcoin, or rather simply speculation today. So Nico always says we don't speculate here, but I'm gonna give you a little leeway. You can speculate a little bit here, Chris. So what's your thoughts on all this?
Why are you so bearish, Opti? Like, I thought we had Opti unleashed. All I'm hearing is bear.
Hold on. To clarify, we're going, what was I saying a couple weeks? 700K, but by August is where I'm, the time frame is where I'm off here. We're going into the six figures.
All right. I'll give you that because obviously Robert Kiyosaki saying 350K in basically 2.5 months. Jack Mallers gave a range about a week ago of 250K to $1 million. Samson Mao has been shouting $1 million per Bitcoin, $1 million per Bitcoin for a while now. I think that the one thing that I'll say is I know Nico always brings this up, like basically the 2020-2021 bull run was cut short, obviously with China banning Bitcoin mining. Basically, we saw the deflation of the price because a lot of Chinese miners had to sell their Bitcoin in order to move their operations out of China, out of threat of repercussion from the Chinese government. Then we saw like a double top, basically with FTX and a lot of Sam Bankman-Fried's fraud of inflating the price. So I definitely think we did not have a better bull run or a higher bull run last bull market. Probably for the better, to be honest, help people stay more humble, stack sats. But that aside, we've seen this has been setting up for the craziest bull run ever. What do I mean by that? For the first time in Bitcoin's history, we saw Bitcoin reach its all-time high prior to the halving. I'll say that again. Bitcoin reached its prior all-time high of 73K, breaking its all-time high of 69K, going into the halving, which we have never had happen before. We've seen a little bit of a consolidation come down. We're still hovering at 70K post-halving, but most times we're not even hitting the all-time high to 6 to 18 months before the halving. Not only do we break a high prior to the halving, we're hovering just below the all-time high right now, and we haven't even begun the real bull run. As well as we're seeing all these bullish indicators. We're seeing pension funds go into it. We're seeing obviously the approval of the Bitcoin spot ETF. It's been about 6 months. So we're going to see a second wave of hedge funds, institutions, and all of that wanted to see data on the ETFs the first 6, 9, and 12 months. So we're just getting to about the 6-month mark in a few weeks here. So I think, it's like the spring is being compressed. And when it's released, Opti, it's going to be nuts. I'm not going to say I agree with Robert Kiyosaki that we're going to hit 350K in 2.5 months, but it is in the cards and it could potentially happen. And to caveat also his price prediction, 350K from 70K, let's just call it right there, is a 5X in price. We've seen in Bitcoin's price history, obviously it would be closer to the earlier days, but we've seen Bitcoin's price, 10X from its previous all-time high. So 5X being 50% lower than that is definitely doable and it's definitely possible. I think that I'll just leave it at that. So I'm not going to give a price prediction, but I am seeing all the bullish indicators and I'm excited for the next leg up. So let's get
Chris,
after it.
I do want to ask you a question, but I also want to troll Kiyosaki a little bit. If he says Bitcoin is going to 350K by August, then his target is $1 million Bitcoin by the end of 2025. So bullish by Robert Kiyosaki. But anyways, Chris, we have been talking about the ETFs a lot, and we're seeing in the chat a lot of people asking, the very simple question: if the ETFs are buying this much Bitcoin, how come the price isn't going up? What would be your response to that, Chris?
Yeah, so this is speculation, so I'll just go off this, but I assume we've kind of seen the Bitcoin miners had a very successful run up or they had a horrible 18 months to 2 years leading up to the halving. The Bitcoin, the hash price was running away, meaning the hash rate was running way faster than Bitcoin's price appreciation. Obviously, we saw Bitcoin's price at 16K, while the Bitcoin's hash rate was up 6 or 7 times from its previous all-time high in hash rate. So basically, the Bitcoin miners had the hardest bear market we've ever seen in Bitcoin's history comparing hash rate to price relative of Bitcoin. With that being said, we've now finally seen at the halving, we don't need to get into the shitcoinery of it all, but basically runes or inscriptions were going nuts. We saw the Bitcoin halving block block 840,000. I think the reward was 3.2 125 Bitcoin, which you knew about for the subsidy, but then there was 37 Bitcoin in that block as people were trying to get in their runes and inscription data in there. We've seen that die off now. Fees have come well down from where they were at post-halving for those couple weeks, but now we're finally starting to see hash rate go the other direction, meaning that as price has gone up enough, hash rate has gone or it's kept going up. But basically, as we've seen the fees start to descend down, Bitcoin miners are finally seeing the sell pressure that they're needed to take their S9s, S11s, S13s, even all the way up to S17s basically offline. So basically the hash price or the price that's required of electricity costs in order to make profitable mining of Bitcoin is obviously much higher or lower than it was, meaning that you need much lower electricity costs in order to make your operation profitable. So I think we're kind of seeing to head, like while the ETFs are buying, we're seeing the sell pressure from miners, which we've seen historically after after leading up to halving, once your subsidy is cut in half, obviously they're seeing their subsidy get cut in 50%. So miners start to see sell pressure. We start to see hash rate come offline, that they can't keep their older machines online and profitable. And then basically after it consolidates for 6 to 12 months, basically that's when we start to see the next bull run rip. And as old machines will start to come back online as the USD price starts to skyrocket as it follows the price of basically Bitcoin, basically. So
see, this is why we bring Chris on, so he could give us the right side of the bell curve explanations of what's going on. I always just say, hey, apparently more people are selling than buying, guys. We just need more people buying Bitcoin. That's why you need to go out there and meme about Bitcoin, because they still don't get it. Anyways, before I go to our guest, though, we did get a super chat. Thank you, Mikkel. He gave us super chat of $5 and he wants us to speculate more. So what month in late 2025, early 2026 do you think we will start dipping again? No price predictions, just a month you all think we will dip. Again, caveat here, no one knows, but historically it's a year to 18 months after the halving. So that would leave us roughly around what, like September, October of 2025-ish. So who knows, but that's probably, that'd be a good place to consider a blow off top, if we do get a blow off top this time around. Anyways, let's go to our guest. Kamal, I'll start with you, considering that you do work with Galoy, you do work with building out infrastructure, at least a company that is building out infrastructure. So I know the price predictions are probably like tiresome at this point. You're like, I just want people to use it. We're trying to build this stuff out. So what's your thoughts on all this crazy stuff? Is Robert Kiyosaki smoking the hopium?
I mean, I think he is just trying to bait people to make a point with a price prediction. I think what he says about the political elite that is governing us and how responsible they've been, I think he's spot on, and it's good that people like him say it out loud to their audiences and express it basically in extremely bullish bets about the future Bitcoin price appreciation. In terms of, I mean, where is the journey going towards in terms of appreciation? I don't know. I mean, anybody who says they know is a scammer. That's for sure, because nobody knows what's going to happen. But if we look back at the last cycle, like there were a lot of systemic problems in the ecosystem, and we are seeing them actually again coming in, actually amplified. So we know that FTX was selling or collecting money and putting numbers onto people's accounts without having the Bitcoin. They were suppressing the price of Bitcoin by selling paper Bitcoin. And now we have, and they blew up, and that's how we found out, right? So you would expect that the ecosystem has learned and adjusts their behavior. But now, since earlier this year, we have ETFs, 11, I think, but only one of them actually, like, we can verify that they have the Bitcoin that they say they have in their daily reportings, and that's Bitwise. It's unfortunately not the number one ETF out there, far from it. It's one of the smaller ones, but it's the only one that is Hoseki. Hoseki is like doing proof of reserves verification, and in the case of ETFs, it's pretty easy to do because they have to basically say at the end of the day how much money they got in, and then they can show by showing the address where the Bitcoin is for everyone to prove that that Bitcoin is actually there. And Bitwise is the only one that is doing that. None of the other ETFs is doing it. So I'm very it's a little bit disturbing, like I'd be expecting the market to now, after this FTX paper Bitcoin debacle, to really prefer those actors that are proving and being responsible and proving that they're being responsible and having the Bitcoin that they say they have and doing it in a beautiful way that you can only do with Bitcoin, right? So yeah, I'd like to see like behavior change, but we're not seeing that. So probably there's going to be a lot more recting coming up sometime in the future, until like market participants wise up and really choose the custodians if they have to, that are actually like provably doing what they should be doing and showing it and being auditable. So I'm a little bit skeptical with all of that and worried about this, because I'm not seeing that we have wised up to a degree that we actually deserve 1 million Bitcoin in the future.
Yeah, well, I think we're starting to enter the max degen phase, not just in the Bitcoin ecosystem, but in like the world ecosystem. And to your point, the fact that 10 out of the 11 ETFs in the US all are using Coinbase to custody their coins, or quote unquote custody their coins. We might even get a bigger rug pull than the FTX one. We don't wish that on the market, but man, who knows what Coinbase is doing over there. Anyways, let's go to Charlie. I'm going to ask you two questions, Charlie. First is, what's your thoughts on the price speculation that Kiyosaki is saying? And do you think these types of price speculations hurt people that get into Bitcoin?
Good questions. Okay, first thing, the price prediction, Kamal hit it on the head. The central banks give inflation predictions. We all are, we all make our reality by what we focus on. So if we're focusing on a certain price, sometimes this just creates that price, like it's a self-reinforcing affirmation. That's one thing. So I understand where he's coming from. You have other celebrities or influencers like Max who also uses this tactic. And yeah, I don't think it hurts in the long term. I definitely think it can hurt in the short term. You see a lot of people here in El Salvador kind of became aware of it when it was around the 40K range, going up to 60K, and then it slumped down to 18. So, it can, if people don't understand the fundamental philosophy behind Bitcoin, it's very hard for people to hold on to an asset that's reducing by 70-80% on like a drop of a hat. So yeah, obviously, over the long run, it gets more people in, it gets more people interested, reading up, but there's a lot of people who get burnt as well at the same time. I think it's important that we all break this down to first principles as to what does price really mean and where do we get our prices from. Prices are just an average of different exchanges across the globe, right? And then those exchanges, you've got buyers and sellers, and the last buyer and seller that meet, that reaches a price. So it depends on the supply of Bitcoin that's available on that exchange, and then the amount of dollar that are bidden for that particular Bitcoin. So there's two sides to the Bitcoin price. It's the amount of dollars that are in the hands of individuals across the globe, and also the amount of supply that's being put on these exchanges where the price derives from. So we know that as the world financial system fractures and different entities like Russia or different countries don't want to partake inside of the dollar rails, they're going to want to transact on different forms. So whether that's gold, which I don't think is very practical, but I think other nation states, other powers are going to want to use different mediums of exchange, and they'll start to realize that Bitcoin is by far the best way to be able to exchange for goods and services. And most countries are saving in a lot of US sovereign debt as their long-term holding capacity. I mean, the Irish Central Bank, for example, holds like most of it in these IMF special drawing rights, right? The central bank holds a huge percentage, and these are just an amalgamation of all the different currencies. These countries will realize that they have to shift. They have to shift over to Bitcoin to be able to transact with other countries for their goods and services. So I think the price predictions could be an underestimation. I think as wars keep going, you need to tape over all of this with more dollars, and as it fractures, an exponential amount of more dollars are going to get into the hands of individuals. But it's really important that people take their Bitcoin outside of the exchanges just to keep them honest and making sure that they do have the Bitcoin that they say that they do.
Bars, absolute bars. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, guys. There is over 1,200 of you guys watching. If you love the content, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's make sure more people hear this signal. That's the whole point of doing this. More people need to wake up. Anyways, before we go into the culture, we do have to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Orange Pill app. Stack friends who stack sats. As you've heard throughout this show, Bitcoin will be, I hate using the word, but the new elite. You guys are going to be wealthy, influential, and you want to connect with other Bitcoiners, build your local community. It's great hanging out with Bitcoiners on Twitter, on YouTube, but when you interact with people in meet space, it's totally different. You actually build, I think, long-lasting friendships. Maybe you build family relationships there. I don't know. But if you're traveling to a new area, you can see if there's Bitcoiners around you. So download the Orange Pill app, guys. Get on there. There is a Simply Bitcoin group there. So if you want to, chat with us, go hang out in there. But get on the Orange Pill app, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, let's get into the daily culture, guys.
The daily culture.
KABOOMRACKS. Go to KABOOMRACKS.com, guys. It's the best place to buy mining equipment, sell mining equipment, and host your miners as well. And they have a special sale going on their site right now. You can host an S19K Pro 120 terahash instant hosting, guys. It's already running. All you got to do is once the payment goes through, instantly stacking sats. You own the miner. This is not a cloud mining contract. It is your ASIC, and it will be online immediately. So if you've been wanting to get into Bitcoin mining, get in touch with the KABOOMRACKS guys. Even if it's just to talk about it, they're probably one of the best teams out there. They'll tell you everything going on in the space, whether it's a good idea, whether you should do it, or whether you should just be stacking sats directly. They will hold your hand throughout the process. Go to KABOOMRACKS.com. All right, guys. Well, I'm super excited for this one today because we got someone down there in El Salvador, aka Charlie, here in Berlin, and he's living on the Bitcoin standard. And Kamal brought us up. Actually, here, let me pull this down and we'll have more of a conversation to start off with. Kamal really wanted to angle today's culture on the theme of Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And of course, we're talking about it as a store of value. We're speculating on the price, but that's why I wanted to bring on the Jack Mallers clip in the beginning about the great wealth transfer that we're seeing, about the importance of the Bitcoin price. It gives good context to everything here. But I love when Kamal came on. He's like, look, I want to talk about Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And that is super important here. And this is why he brought on Charlie as well, because he's living it right now in Berlin, El Salvador. So Kamal, let's start with you. Why is continuing to educate people as Bitcoin as a medium of exchange so important to you?
Yeah, I think it's what I think is what personally think is the goal of Bitcoin, which is the separation of money and state, freeing ourselves from the enslavement of the monetary demons, as you called them. And the only way to do that is to stop using their money for transactions, not just for storing our wealth, but for day-to-day transactions. Like, we have to opt out of fiat. And in order to do that, we have to use Bitcoin for our transactions, for our payments, for our salaries, for our payroll, for anything, just superpower the internet with micropayments, all the good stuff. And we have to do it with Bitcoin because the future of money is digital. And as you know, there is only two ways it can go, right? Like, either it's going to be like the totally cucked CBDC route that seriously I don't want to see my children living up in, or it's going to be the Bitcoin way. And we have to get Bitcoin ready. And there is, and that takes a lot of things, right? It is an effort on a huge spectrum of requirements that we have to fulfill to make it work for 8 billion people. Because this is what we need to achieve, ideally, at least. Like, we're slowly but surely getting there. We're not anywhere near 8 billion, of course, and it's going to take some time. But I think Bitcoin needs to be able to work for at some point in the future, and we can start with that. Actually, we have to start with that today, and people have started with it even before. Like, I'm wearing this shirt here from Arnhem. It's Bitcoin Arnhem City. They started using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange in 2014. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
It's we just celebrated 10 years of merchants accepting Bitcoin for payments. And I went there and people are just accepting it like it's just another payment method, like it should be, as it should be. It was frankly amazing to see. Obviously, in Berlin, in El Salvador, in Bitcoin Beach, Bitcoiners went there and just started to use Bitcoin, just opted out. Not necessarily because they didn't like fiat, but fiat didn't work for them. And so they had to really embrace Bitcoin. And the president saw that it works even for the illiterate parts of the population. So it can work for 7 million Salvadorans, he thought, and he made it happen. And look what's happening in El Salvador now. Like, if you start really banking on Bitcoin and going the right way, like, good things happen. And whoever hasn't seen the interview with Tucker Carlson that he just did after his inauguration, like, go check it out. Like, this is not necessarily only the result of Bitcoin, but if you have a trajectory like that, Bitcoin is a part of that. And El Salvador is, yeah, like, it's a bumpy road and to really adopting Bitcoin, but people are doing it. Like, Charlie might be talking about it a little bit in a while. I'm communicating with folks in Berlin, closely working together with a couple of folks, and they're telling me, Kemal, I'm doing 99% of my transactions in Bitcoin. I say, what's the 1%? And he said, shout out to Andre, by the way. He said, it's a guy selling fresh fish, you know. And he's the only one who has fresh fish, and I have to go and buy fiat from the merchants to pay him and get fresh fish because I really like it, and he's the only one. And he's so stubborn; he won't accept it. He's an old guy, you know. Yeah, I mean, back to the topic. I mean, medium of exchange. I understand in United States it's a delicate topic for many reasons. United States dollar is a reserve currency, the extraordinary privilege, as Charles de Gaulle called it in the 70s, I think, that the United States had and have been abusing to the detriment of everybody who is not US. Everybody was robbed by the Federal Reserve, yeah, I think, like, and there's that taxable event story, you know, like, what, it's not really practical from an IRS perspective, you know, that you use it as a medium of exchange, because yeah, it's a lot of work for your accountants, and will probably cost you extra money for what? Like, you have excellent payment infrastructure in the United States, so there is no pressing need really as a medium of exchange for Bitcoin. And there are, like, regulatory hurdles and tax problems that are waiting for you. So the United States probably is not going to be, like, ahead of the curve in terms of adopting Bitcoin as a medium of exchange for aforementioned reasons. But in many places around the world, there is a pressing need to use Bitcoin, and people are embracing it, and it's working for them because the technology is getting to a place now where it really is on par, if not even better, than traditional fiat payment alternatives. And this is really important. We have that level of convenience and reliability achieved now, especially with custodial solutions. And I hope we will also get there soon with self-custodial solutions. And as people learn more about Bitcoin and self-sovereignty and responsibility, I'm quite bullish on Bitcoin as a medium of exchange.
Love it, man. Love it. Okay. On that note, we have Charlie on the ground in Berlin, El Salvador. So maybe tell the people of everything going on in the circular economy and all the things you've experienced and your thoughts on what Kemal was saying.
Sure. Okay. Well, back again, I think it's important with this argument. It's quite easy to disvalidate if we just think it through. Okay. So store of value first step, second step, medium of exchange. What does exchange mean for us, for humans? And why is exchange so important for our evolution? When I was in India, I remember seeing the sculptures and the paintings of the gods, old Hindu gods, and these were painted thousands of years ago, where there was one hand up like that and one hand given out like that, symbolizing exchange as being the base of humanity. Why is it so important? Well, you only go into a voluntary exchange if you think that what you're going to get from someone else is better than what you're giving away. And when we think about money, money ends up emerging when the most sellable element ends up becoming that money. So it's what everybody is willing to trade their goods for, which they know that they'll get something more for in the future. So when we are making an exchange, and we're like, the money is the second side of every single exchange, and we are using a dollar, we are using a corrupted money that does not represent the value that it says it does, right? Essentially. So every single exchange that we do, every single individual that exchanges with another individual is basically exchanging corruption and lies for those goods and services. Okay, so no matter what you're holding, when you are acting, that instance by which you make that exchange, you are actually propagating lies, you are propagating corruption, and you're propagating something that is anti-human, anti-God, in my opinion. So to actually use something that is direct truth, that is direct, light, to be able to exchange that for goods and services actually purifies society, purifies who we are. And that's why I think that medium of exchange and using Bitcoin, this total truth, to change goods and services is essential. And I think this mission is something that every single Bitcoiner should be placing their attention on, even though obviously store of value is, it's extremely important, and you to be able to purchase things in the future is important. But do not underestimate the conditions by which you live in. And the friction is going to be there because it's a direct threat to the state issued currency with whatever jurisdiction that you reside in. So whether you're in the States, whether you're in Europe and China and Russia, whether you're in Australia, they're not going to make it easy for you to use this as the exchange, because it's going to allow them to lose power. So here, thank God, El Salvador is the first and pretty much the only country where Bitcoin is used as money. And you can already see that purification process happen from the ground up. You can see that individuals who are starting to use this money are seeing, well, an increase in sales, first of all, because Bitcoiners love to go where they can use their Bitcoin for goods and services. So straight away, they're increasing their sales. Because they're increasing their sales, if they keep their costs in the same range, they have savings. If they have some sort of education of knowing that saving is good for their long term and for their kids and for their grandkids, they'll start putting some Bitcoin away. So yeah, in Berlin right now, you have over 140 merchants that are using Bitcoin for their goods and services. The aim is to get well over 300, but parallel to that, there's some really good education that's happening as well. People understanding, I suppose, what money is, and the effects of inflation, and what happens when you go into further debt. Because people are living day to day, they don't usually have that much left over at the end of the month around here. So people tend to go into debt, right? So as people go into debt, they need to be able to take out loans. The cost of capital increases as you go further away from the spigot of the States dollar. So you're talking about interest rates of close to 20% per month here in El Salvador. So someone doesn't have as many is not making that much money, has to go into debt. Then they go into debt, and then every single month they're paying out around 20% on interest. So nobody can actually build up any capital and actually save some time to be able to spend doing the things that means the most to them, to allow them to actually figure out who they are and what they're meant to do in this world. So it's actually preventing us from figuring who we are. It's creating really misaligned incentives. It's bringing us away from our true nature, of our true reality, and people are just blind to it because they're so distracted with like what's happening, like, how can I feel a little bit better about myself, or how can I outdo this person over. And you can see the values degrade as the money degrades. So I think we all need to step back, have a bit of reflection, and go back to like the test and try principles that have allowed us to succeed as a society, which are written in texts that have lasted thousands of years, and then use Bitcoin as our medium of exchange and as a store of value. And as we progress, start using it as a unit of account. Whenever you buy things, take note of how many sats that cost. Take note. And when you're trying to price something, price it in sats, see how it goes. So this is how we're going. This is how we're going to evolve. This is how we get hyper Bitcoinized world, and this is how we get truth into the world. Yeah.
Wait. That's called motherfucking bars. Let's go. I love this topic. But I do have to pivot a little bit because I know you guys wanted to talk about adopting Bitcoin. So I'll give the floor. I don't know if Charlie, if you want to take it, but I'm over here on adoptingbitcoin.org. You guys, I think, broke the internet last year with the first conference. You guys are going to do it again in November, if I am correct. And you guys are going global. So let's talk adopting Bitcoin. And then I do want to let Kamal do a little sneak peek of that cool project you guys were talking about. And so I'll give Charlie, you get the floor here. Let's talk about adopting Bitcoin. And then we'll wrap up the show with a cool live demo with Kamal. So Charlie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Kamal is the brains behind Adopting Bitcoin, the creator, the father, and he's overseeing Adopting Bitcoin in different entities in South Africa, in Holland, in Arnhem, and in El Salvador. So it's the 4th year running, and it's just been building from strength to strength. Adopting Bitcoin is for builders, people who are building on top of Bitcoin, and it's known for its high signal. And that term is thrown out a lot, but it's people who've genuinely putting in the work to be able to use Bitcoin as money. It's a really good opportunity to come to El Salvador and see what's actually going on. How are people using Bitcoin? But also to be able to talk to the individuals who are building the tools, who are trial and erroring Bitcoin as money, right? So that's a huge opportunity. This year, it's in a different venue. I'd say the best venue in the whole country to hold a conference, called Salamanca Events. And there's just a new reinvigorated energy into this and a really strong team behind it. I just have to thank Kamal for being so organized, for having such a clear vision for what the conference is. And I think these are the ingredients that allow for people to have a quality time at this conference. So yeah, so 15th and 16th of November is the conference. There's going to be a film fest the day before, right? 15th and 16th is the conference, and there's going to be a barrage of side events around there. So if you're going to come over to El Salvador, I'd recommend for you to come over for more than just a few days. Come over for a week, maybe 2 weeks, because there's going to be a load of events on, and they're all going to be Bitcoin related. So adopting Bitcoin, I mean, it focuses both on the networking side of things, because you get to meet all of these amazing people, but also the technical side. So there's 2 main stages. There's going to be the workshops as well, where you're going to have developers and people who have gone through or building products and being able to get into the nitty and gritty of how Bitcoin works and Lightning. So I'd highly recommend, if you're a technically sided person, to come check it out. There is a lot of individuals who are just coming into Bitcoin in El Salvador, who are discovering it as money in a whole different way that maybe a lot of us are not used to. So it's a really cool melting pot. There are 2 different tier tickets. Principally, there's the standard ticket, where you get to come in, you get to see all of the talks, go into the exhibitions, be able to meet all of the Bitcoiners. There was over 1,100 participants last year. We're expecting around the same or even more this year. But there's also the privileged access ticket, which this allows you to be able to set up at the mezzanine, which gives you a great view from the main stage. But it also means you get to speak, you get to talk with all the speakers, the sponsors, and you also get a free ticket to the film fest the day before. So if it's within your price range, I highly recommend you get that, because it just leads to a high quality experience. It's by far the biggest conference in El Salvador. And I think the fact that El Salvador has Bitcoin as money means that it's a very unique conference within the world. So if you want a unique experience, if you want to see Bitcoin in a different light, I'd highly, highly recommend booking your flights, getting over here, checking it out, and yeah, getting out of your comfort zone a bit. The aim is that the individuals who come to the conference come out of the conference a better person, feeling full of energy and ready to take on the world on a Bitcoin standard.
Bars, love it, love it. Okay, Kamal, I also want you to touch on the conference, but once you touch on the conference, and then just go into a live demo of what you showed us before, and I think that's going to be a great way to end the show. So, Kamal, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, I mean, Charlie did a great job. El Salvador is a gift to Bitcoin and Bitcoiners. It's a sovereign nation that made it its legal tender. I mean, and it's in Bitcoin's 13th year. I think nobody really expected that, and they didn't adopt it as a store of value. They adopted it as a medium of exchange. Nobody, and that is the bigger surprise even. But they're making it work, and I think it's turned a little bit into a shop front in meat space to the world. It's not just this geeks thing on the internet that some nerds play around with. Now real mothers and fathers with families and businesses are using it and relying on it because it makes their life easier. And so that is really what adopting Bitcoin is about and focuses on, making it work for people, real people that are not nerds, that are not geeks, just normal people who want to go about their life and work without being stolen from, and having the ability to transact and economize in a global market from where they are. And Bitcoin enables that in a beautiful way. It's borderless, it's permissionless, it's interoperable, it's open source, and yeah, it's we're making it work. And basically, adopting Bitcoin brings together all the people that work on making it work. Right, the builders, not just the price speculators or LARPers or I don't know, like what people are doing. There's lots of things people are doing out there, calling it Bitcoin, especially here in Turkey. But it's really about bringing about adopting Bitcoin adoption as a medium of exchange, as a better store of value that for people. And that's where adopting Bitcoin basically shows up and happens, to amplify the efforts of the community, to bring expertise from international Bitcoiners into the country, but also to learn from the people and the challenges that are happening there. So the appropriate solutions can be developed, the challenges overcome together, to learn from each other, and the experiences of that people make. There are not just in El Salvador, and there are Bitcoin communities and who are using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange in many different places now. So this is where adopting Bitcoin happens, right? Like I just talked about Netherlands, Arnhem City, Bitcoin Start has been using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange since 2014. There is also a lot of adoption happening in Cape Town. There will also be an adopting Bitcoin there again in 2025 in January. It's summer in the Southern Hemisphere. So if you wanted to check that out or can't make it in November to El Salvador, I recommend you look into that. It's super underrated what's going on in South Africa. And you'd be surprised how strong of a Bitcoin community they have there. Yeah, and basically all these people from all over the world, from all these Bitcoin circular economies are inspired by what happened in Bitcoin Beach, right? Like what Mike Peterson and the crew there did, starting in 2019, and even earlier, going back to what they did with Hope House way before they started to actually teach about Bitcoin. They were doing computer classes and English classes and educating the people there so they don't drift away and join the gangs and lose perspective. And they added Bitcoin to it, to this whole to their community work, because it fits beautifully, because Bitcoin is about community and about caring, and a lot of people around the world were inspired. Bitcoiners saw this and they said, all right, well, I want that in my community as well. And we are now seeing people in Peru, in Brazil, in South Africa, in Uganda, in Ghana, in many places around the world, really replicating what was popularized mostly by Bitcoin Beach. It started earlier, but Bitcoin Beach really had this breakthrough success, especially because it also inspired the nation state adoption in its greater country, right? Which is an amazing feat. And what we are doing with Galoy and with Blink, as well as the conference host in El Salvador.
Not to cut you off, come on, but show them a little live demo if you can right now, and then
All right. So I mentioned it in the beginning, right? So today is a good day for Bitcoin as a medium of exchange for two reasons. BTC Pay Server released a plugin. So if you have a BTC Pay Server account, you can now create these beautiful bold cards yourself, right? You can buy them for 10 cents and you can program them with your BTC Pay Server instance. We used this setup in Madeira at the Bitcoin Atlantis conference, and it was beautiful. It worked like a charm. We gave it into the hands of newbies who had never used Bitcoin before, and they were making Bitcoin payments just by tapping a card. So that superior payment experience is now also available in Bitcoin, and you can actually do it yourself. A second thing that I'm personally also very excited about is maybe you've seen these bad boys here. It's called the Bitcoinized point of sale. It's basically, a Android phone with a little bit of extras. You can buy it, and it has a printer. It has a thermal printer here. So maybe I'll do a little demo here. So what I can do now with this, with something that we released with Blink today for alpha testing, it's called Blink Voucher. So I can create a Bitcoin voucher with this. You can't see my screen because it's too bright, but I'm typing in a $1 voucher price. And now I'm being asked to pay, and I'm say pay. It's connected to my Blink wallet. So now the payment is done. And I can see here a QR code. It's a little bit blurred, so people don't snatch it from the live stream. And I'll just go ahead and click the print button here. And this is basically now $1 worth, right? Like, so I don't know if you can scan it, but if you're face to face, it's a pretty nice way to sell Bitcoin for cash and for anybody. And the beauty about that is it's KYC free Bitcoin, right? And another aspect of it is it actually encourages shops who are accepting Bitcoin not to just accept Bitcoin, but to prefer Bitcoin, because it's the hottest digital asset in the world, and they can sell it for a premium that they can determine to Bitcoiners who want to buy KYC free Bitcoin. So I'm mildly bullish about this, as you can hear. I think it's going to be a game changer, especially in cash-based economies, especially in the global south, but actually anywhere where there's Bitcoiners who want to provide a service and earn a little bit of extra money for giving KYC-free Bitcoin to their peers, right? So maybe this could be an alternative to the convenience of KYC exchanges going forward, more peer-to-peer trading.
Love it, man.
One quick question, Kamal, where can you get that point of sales terminal again? So
this is called the Bitcoinized point of sale. You can find it on Twitter if you type in Bitcoinize. Fernando from Bitcoin Beach, Brazil, one of the guys who basically was inspired by Mike Peterson, really worked this out. He has some suppliers that he's working with in China. It's a little bit pricey. There is also these devices here that you like, mobile thermal printers that you can buy for $20 on Alibaba, right? Like, it's nothing. And you can basically connect it to any Android phone with Bluetooth and print out these receipts, right? The receipts are not strictly necessary. You could just also show your screen and let the buyer basically scan it off your screen in exchange for the cash that he gives you. But it's nice, if you have like a little piece of paper like that you can scan with your Lightning wallet and redeem with LNURL withdraw. That's pretty neat to have something physical in general for people who are not overly technical, right? Like one of the big criticisms of Bitcoin is that you can't touch it. Now you can touch it actually.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Great show. Well, come on, Charlie. Thank you for coming on today's show. Let's just do one last plug. Where do you want to point the audience to? And then we'll wrap up today's show.
Charlie, you go first.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, first point of call. If you want to participate in adopting Bitcoin, if you have a good message that you want to get out on Bitcoin adoption, I'd recommend going for the call for participation on the Adopting Bitcoin website. Have a look through. To be honest, I just recommend come over to El Salvador. I've been here a year, living here, and my life has completely changed. I mean, it was good, but it's changed for I feel a lot of sense of purpose. Come check it out. If you want to get a ticket, go into the tickets. Adopting Bitcoin 2024. It's going to be absolutely crazy. It's going to be awesome.
Love it. Okay, come on, same as you, and then we'll roll today's show out.
Yeah, come to El Salvador. I can only recommend it. I've been there 2 times myself. It's amazing. Accumulation of amazing people, freedom-loving people who are there to build something in Bitcoin country, and it truly is Bitcoin country, and it's becoming more Bitcoin country every day thanks to the amazing work that the Bitcoiners there are putting in. And the Bitcoiners that are coming from abroad, they're contributing a lot because they're hyping their work, like celebrating them and their efforts, and really giving them a boost. And that's true for all the Bitcoin circular economies. And we're trying to really like make it a celebration of the people that are putting in the work every day, opting out and creating these safe spaces for us that are where you can live without fiat, right? And this is the ultimate thing. And you should go and see this and be inspired by what's going on. You should learn how to do it from the people that have done it and that have made mistakes and have learned from them and developed solutions to mitigate them, and go home to where you are and do that same thing where you are. Like, I'm not saying you should move to El Salvador. Maybe you, if it's really a shithole where you're at and you see no future or like chance that it can be improved with the right people, do it. Okay, but the first choice should be to improve where you're at and just opt out where you are with the people around you. Convince your local farmers market, your butcher and your grocery store to accept Bitcoin payments, your barber, and go with that. And if you need tools how to do that, well, that's what Adopting Bitcoin is for. And you can come and learn about it there.
Love it, guys. All right, well, come on, Charlie. Thank you for coming on today's show. Let me pull you behind the scenes as I roll out today's show, but really appreciate it. This is a great show. All righty then, guys and girls. I do want to give a special shout out to Chris Alamo, the best producer in the game. Hanging out with us today.
No, that's either you or Jacob. I'll let you guys duke it out for that. But
it's the Bugle now. They have really good production now. Their production's doing well. Anyways, Chris, thanks for coming on, dude. We'll get you on again soon. Really appreciate you when you come off the bench, bro. It means a lot to us. Yeah. On that note, let me roll the show out, guys. So hang out behind the scenes. All right. That was another episode. Opti's Simply Speculation Takeover for today. You already know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. Make sure people get Bitcoin content, not just our content, everyone's content. Make sure they get the signal. On that note, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Peace out.
It was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.